Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming to talk about Jobless Reincarnation Episode 1. It's finally here. Alright, there's a lot I actually want to talk about when it comes to this series. But first, I think I want to tell you all about my personal history with the series and what I don't like about it and what I like about it. And if you allow me, I want to just go through how big of a thing it is that Jobless Reincarnation finally got its anime. This is a really happy thing. Like, this is like when Shield Hero had gotten its anime, it became like, yeah, Jobless might actually be able to get its. And you know, I only realized recently that the Jobless Reincarnation, that's the English title for Mushoku Tensei. Anyway, I want to tell you the story, but before that, one thing I just need to get it out of the way. There is one fundamental thing I don't like about this story and the anime in general. It's just a thing that's there, never been my favorite thing. It's specifically moments like this. This old man in a child's body, he is the most embarrassing pervert. This is one of those things that I did not like about the original story, and it's here, like, not in full force, I don't think, but it's here. It's reminding you this is who he is. This is one of those things where it's like, you know, whenever he acts like this, like he acts like the 30-year-old man inside that child's body, it's like, ugh, gross. But you know, as long as they keep it charming as opposed to like super creepy, it'll be fine. But just let you know, this is one of the things that sours me on the series and why I don't really talk about it too often. But anyway, moving away from that, we're not here to talk about the bad things. So really, the episode I don't think has really bad things. But I want to tell you about my personal history with this. So this and Shield Hero were the first web novels that I ever read legitimately. And I'm speaking just of the web novels. This and Shield Hero have a special place in my heart because both of these had their endings written a long time ago. I think before 2015, I want to say, because that's roughly the time period when I would have been reading them. Like this and Shield Hero, I had read their final web novel chapters and I knew how the web novels ended for those two stories. It's a really big deal to finally see this one having its anime made. Now, you know, as we come into this, we're watching an isekai anime, but I want to tell you that this is legitimately one of the better isekai anime. Like, honestly, you could even say that this one is one of the ones that codified the rest of the shitty isekai anime that we got after it. And this is another thing that I want to just talk about. I want you to know what contemporaries this particular isekai had. I want you to know, you know, who were the other series starting with this isekai, just so you can understand how big of a thing it is that this thing finally got it. So this one began its life, from what I can see, in around November 2012, which makes sense because I would have been reading this somewhere around 2015. 2012, on a Japanese user generation site, right? In that era, its contemporaries included, I'm gonna put a dishonorable mention here, Isekai Cheat Magician. That's the only one I'm not gonna really like touch, like whatever. Isekai Cheat Magician started 2012, whatever, not the greatest. But Konosuba 2012, Shield Hero 2012, Overlord 2012, ReZero 2012, and there were some that came right after it. Slime 2013, The Eighth Son, Are You Kidding Me 2013, In Another World with My Smartphone 2013, Arifureta 2013. I'm just looking at the data I have here on one side. These are its contemporaries. This is a pretty big thing. But when you look at that list, a lot of those other anime, they got their starts, those other stories got their animes much earlier than Jobless Reincarnation. And so what that leads me to say, and just to give you the example of how aggressive this is, how a realist built a kingdom got started in 2014. It's getting its anime now in this season. Kenja no Mago had its start in 2015, I believe, or 2014, and they had their anime much earlier. What I really want you to think about is Shield Hero got started in 2012 and only recently got its anime. And we all saw how badly Shield Hero was received on the more vocal aspects of anime community and whatnot, and maybe people that aren't anime fans. Really think about what it means that Mushoku Tensei got an anime so much later. Like, really think about what that means about the content. We live in an era right now where Redo of Healer is getting its anime in this same season, and just for the record, Redo of Healer, that thing started in 2016. The turnover for that one is much faster than Mushoku Tensei. But it is important to again recognize the era of anime that we're getting into. This is an era where Shield Hero was able to come in, and Shield Hero again came in with a lot of controversies by the more vocal aspects of people that don't watch. Really think about what that means for Mushoku Tensei. It's ultimately, when it came to Tensei here, Tensei has, I think, some content that would not have flown in the early era of isekai anime, even though this is one of the influential isekai that got created. And another thing I want to point you towards is this episode was really pretty. People don't understand why this is so pretty. Just so you understand a little bit of the legacy, Jobless Reincarnation was the #1 most popular story on the user generation platform. Let me see if I can actually find its name here. Shoketsu, Let's Become a Novelist. Shosetsuka ni Naro, I think it's called. Apologies if I get it wrong. Anyway, yeah. This thing was the most popular. When you have this thing being the most popular, this is the one that influenced a lot of the shittier isekai to come out after it. But one thing that you have to appreciate is the reason that it's popular is because it's got a solid story behind it, at least at a higher tier than the isekai that got made after it but got produced into anime before it, which is going to be really interesting as we go into talk. Which is going to be really interesting as we talk about it. So the big thing you got to take away from this is that this one is a codifier of the isekai stories that came after it, especially when people saw that it was most likely the most popular on the site multiple times over. You can understand why people would try to follow fashion in that particular sense. So with that out of the way, you understand the pedigree, you understand its contemporaries, you understand what other stories came out in the same time frame that this one came out on. Let's talk about the episode itself. Now, one thing that I love is powers. This is one of my favorite things. So obviously, when we're going into this episode, I am over the moon that the episode spent the majority of the episode explaining magic. You have no idea how happy I was seeing that. That is so cool. I know, get the groundwork done now. I don't need the magic explanations in the future, but you have a relatively good idea of what's going on with magic here. I think one of the things that I was left wondering at the end of the episode was the fact that Roxy is able to use the water ball spell, but hers comes out with more force, even though Rudy wasn't able to do it with the same incantation. So like that's one of those little things that's like, okay, there's a bit more of a quality aspect when it comes to the chants and all that. But I really enjoyed everything about the power aspect. I enjoyed going through the thing, finding out the incantations, how they work, then seeing that having a really powerful mental image allows you to just ignore the incantations. Because it's just, you're kind of directing with intention as opposed with words. I also liked Rudy trying to figure out why it might have been that incantations became the norm. And he's pointing out, well, maybe in a fight it's easier to say the incantation without actually having to focus. And that actually was a really good point, because if you notice, just saying the incantation without any image in your head allowed the phenomena to manifest. What that is to say is that the incantation in of itself, you could say it without any kind of you could say it like half-assedly. You could be like thinking about the clouds and you could just be saying this out loud and it's going to produce the magic anyway. I think that was a really important nuance to put in there, and I again really appreciate it for doing that. Again, when it comes to just that, the fact that this episode was majority just magic exposition, I'm 100% in. I like it. We just scratched the surface too. We didn't really get all that much more. We found out the classification system. We understand it goes from like beginner to intermediate, and it goes all the way up to royal or whatever. We understand that there's a hierarchy. We understand that intention plays a part. We understand the chance. It was all really neat stuff, but we haven't really scratched the surface. We need to figure out more of the rules, and thankfully Rudy is a character that will dive into the rules and will have a really solid understanding for magic as we move forward. Now, with the majority of the episode being this, are there any other things that we got here? aside from the magic. Well, there's a lot of subtext. It's fun to see the parents still going at it like rabbits. That's hilarious. It's also really interesting to see the subtext that's going on in the background. You know, we have a maid here. This maid sees that this kid's a pervert from very early on. We have the girls in the village swooning over the kid's dad because he's a hardcore knight and whatnot. We understand some of the little things. Like we saw little jokes, some charming jokes like did the cleric marry the knight? And it's like, yes, that's exactly what happened. No, it's all cool stuff. Roxy shows up. She's adorable. She has a bit of a rhetoric going on, but we have nice moments here. One of the nice moments was when he was telling her that, hey, you didn't screw up, you just gained experience. And he had that really creepy looking face. You know, that's the face of someone trying, but not really. He's not fully there yet, but overall, it was a super charming episode. And when you look at the way that some of it was animated, especially with the mom, she was animated like she was high energy. It was a really high energy episode. It was a really beautiful episode, and it was really cool to see some of the animations. Again, this anime most likely has so much money being thrown at it because it's Jobless Reincarnation. This is the thing that people have been waiting for a very long time. How funny it is that it's coming out during the same season as Redo of Healer. Now, ultimately, what we have to take away from here is that this was, again, an episode about power exposition, but me coming off of it, I still found it more full of life than other anime that are doing, like, travels and all that kind of stuff at this point in time, or any other introductory episode. I think this is one of those cases where the visuals do help it, and it also helps that there was that nice level of humor. We weren't always stuck in just chats about magic. There were those little moments like when we were zooming out of the parents' bedroom, you know, like the parents' door while they were having their time. Really charming stuff. I think in that regard, melding the power exposition with the charm and the character moments to make it a little bit more funny were cool. Having that little moment where the kid is getting upset about making it look like he had peed himself, you know, those little moments did serve really well to break things up. So far, I gotta say, I don't have that much more to say, because again, there's only so much you can say about power exposition, but I do like what the anime did with how it broke things up. I do like what it did with how it kept everything fun, and again, I do love that it went into the power exposition. I'd be good for 3 more episodes of power exposition, in all honesty, because even in the power exposition, you got the plot moving, right? You went from this kid or the guy dying. He probably saved 3 other people or 2 other people. He gets reincarnated. He's figuring out things about the world. He's figuring out magic by himself. We see a natural progression, and then we end up with him having a teacher come in at the end. So we did have the plot still moving while we were doing something as stagnant as power exposition. Actually, there is one more note. This one had a very strong narrator. Thank you so much. One of the big problems with the isekais is the way that they're narrated. They're usually in first person, and the first person is usually sacrificed when it comes to an adaptation because it's hard. Having the kid's voice here the whole time, I enjoyed it. It framed the story. I really like it. There's a lot more value having it. At some point, I was looking more at what the kid was saying than I was what was going on screen. It was just so much more interesting that way. I very much appreciated it. I wonder how people will feel about that though. But this, like, having the narration is the better move, especially because this is how novels usually go out. In the light novels, there's more narration than there is dialogue in general for across many light novels. This is the better move. And especially in this situation where the gimmick is the main character's disposition as a 30-year-old man or like an old man, having his inner voice come out so often is valuable. What we should be looking at is if the inner voice is going to become less as the anime goes on into the future, because that could say something like, oh, he's becoming more Rudy than he is the guy that's inside of him, which will be an interesting note. Anyway, everyone, let me know what you thought down below of Jobless Reincarnation. I heard that it had a preview event and that maybe episode 2 is already out there on the internet. I did see it on a torrent site, but like I'm just gonna watch this as it comes out. I'm also gonna be rereading maybe I'll be rereading the manga, and maybe I'll make some extra bonus content for this kind of thing. Anyway, everyone, let me know what you thought down below. Oh, let's do something fun. I want to know who's your favorite girl from Jobless Reincarnation? Is it Roxy or is it the other two who haven't shown up yet? Let me know down below. And until next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.